Welcome to Red Recaps. In today's video, we're going to be exploring Fight Club, the near-life experience. Be sure to watch to the end to see why it is the near-life experience. Now let's get started. An auto recall specialist becomes dissatisfied with his mundane life as the stress of his job mounts. He spends his free time looking through furniture catalogs and purchasing anything that piques his interest. But nothing satisfies him. In addition to office stress, he suffers from jet lag because of frequent travel. Due to the constant pressure, he hasn't slept in 6 months. But according to his doctor, insomnia has never killed anyone. The man claims to have narcolepsy, and that he wakes up in strange places with no recollection of how he got there. He needs natural sleep, not medication, according to the doctor. To see real pain, the doctor advises the man to attend a testicular cancer support group. The man goes to a meeting to listen to everyone's sad stories. He meets Bob, an ex-bodybuilder who had his testicles removed due to high testosterone levels. Near the end of the session, Bob informs him that his steroid use was the cause of his divorce and bankruptcy. Bob encourages the sleepwalker to cry. The man sobs as Bob cradles him. The man sleeps well, so despite being healthy, he continues to attend support groups for people with severe diseases. After each session, the man feels refreshed and at peace, but that peace is soon broken by Marla Singer. Marla's presence at the meetings causes him to lose sleep. One night, the man threatens to expose Marla, but she shrugs him off and threatens to expose his secret. He tells Marla that he can't release his emotions with another faker around, so he requests that the support groups be split. After the negotiations, they exchange phone numbers in case they need to swap places. Marla notices that the man, who goes by various aliases in each support group, did not sign her card. She calls to him from across the street, but he vanishes when a bus passes. His job requires him to travel to various cities for meetings, which strains him. On the way home, he runs into soap salesperson Tyler Durden, who explains his oxygen mask theory. Tyler believes the masks are there to get passengers high in the event of an emergency, so that they would accept their fate. According to the man, Tyler is the most interesting passenger he has ever met. After landing, he discovers that his briefcase has been confiscated due to an unexplained vibration. He returns to an apartment that is on fire. He calls Tyler and invites him to a bar because he has nowhere else to go. He tells Tyler about the fire and expresses regret for his loss at the bar. Tyler advises the man to avoid material possessions because they will own him. Tyler is also a projectionist and banquet waiter, which the man discovers. Instead of doing his job properly, he inserts pornographic clips into films and urinates on restaurant food. Tyler asks the man to punch him in the face as hard as he can before they leave, and Tyler is punched in the ear by the man. Tyler uses a chest punch to knock him out, and despite being hurt, the man is ecstatic, so they continue fighting. After another round, Tyler and the man leave. When the man notices the house's dilapidated state, he suspects Tyler is squatting. Tyler and the man fight for several nights outside the bar, attracting the attention of other men. The fights grow so popular, they figure that they can be held in the basement of the bar. Every week, Tyler would welcome new members to the Fight Club. Most importantly, the first rule of Fight Club is to never talk about Fight Club. Despite this, members consistently invite others to fight, in violation of this rule. Marla calls the man and inquires as to why he has not been to a support group in weeks, and he informs her of a new male-only group. Marla claims to have finished a bottle of Xanax, but is not suicidal. The man becomes irritated by Marla's voice and puts the phone down without hanging up. The man fantasizes about Marla having an affair. Walking around the kitchen with Marla proves it was not a dream. When the man asks what she is doing in his house, Marla leaves. Tyler informs him that he called Marla and decided to pay her a visit to prevent an overdose. The police arrive at Marla's apartment after being tipped off. Tyler takes care of Marla at home and becomes intimate with her. He tells the man not to tell Marla anything about him, but does not explain why. The man grows increasingly irritated with Marla as she begins to visit the house on a regular basis to be with Tyler. The man receives a call from the police one morning, informing him that a stick of homemade dynamite was used to torch his apartment. Tyler takes the man that night to a liposuction clinic's trash bin to steal discarded fat and use it to make soap. When they returned home, Tyler demonstrated how soap can be transformed into dynamite by simply adding a few more chemicals. He then pulls out a bottle of lye and pours some of it on the back of the man's hand to demonstrate its potency. As the man's skin begins to burn, he tries to meditate to block out the pain, but Tyler jolts him awake, forcing him to feel it. Finally, he asks the man to stop attempting to live his life in the same way he has in the past, and to accept that he will die someday. He then shows the man a burn mark on his hand before pouring vinegar on his hand to wash the chemical away. The manager confronts the man in the office after discovering a copy of the Fight Club's rules on the copier. He threatens the manager, threatening to bring an Armalite rifle into the office and shoot everyone who works there. Their conversation is cut short when the man receives a phone call from Marla, who requests his assistance in checking for lumps on her breasts. The man arrives at her apartment, puzzled as to why she chose to call him instead of Tyler. After leaving Marla, the man encounters Bob, who informs him that he is no longer attending the support group meetings because he has discovered something new. Bob informs the man that he is not permitted to discuss the new club that he has joined, but the man recognizes this as the first rule of the Fight Club and informs Bob that he too is a member. When the two wrestle at the club, Bob defeats the man by forcing him to tap out of his chokehold. When Lou, the bar owner, discovers the existence of the Fight Club, it is quickly threatened. Tyler was reminding the members of the club's rules when Lou and his bodyguard arrived and told them to leave. Lou begins beating Tyler, who simply laughs it off as he lies bleeding on the ground. Tyler grabs Lou and pins him to the ground when he turns his back on him. Tyler coughs blood on Lou until he agrees to let the club use the basement. Tyler later assigns the members a task: pick a fight with complete strangers and let them win. The man approaches his boss and threatens to expose the company's corruption unless he is paid. After his boss fires him, the man begins to beat himself up, while the manager looks on in disbelief. As the man continues to hit himself, he recalls the night he first fought Tyler. He tells the boss that unless he agrees to write him a regular paycheck, he will never return to the office. Later, the man leaves the office with the manager's promise to send him 52 weekly paychecks and 48 airline flight coupons, allowing the club to hold fights every night. Tyler soon gives members assignments to vandalize buildings, shops, and billboards. The man discovers that there are now numerous chapters of the Fight Club across the country while smashing cars on the streets with Tyler. Tyler later takes a gun from the man's backpack and walks into a convenience store. He walks out the back door with the clerk and asks what he wanted to be before working at the store. Raymond, the clerk, said he wanted to be a veterinarian, but could not finish high school. Tyler threatens to kill Raymond if he does not start working toward becoming a veterinarian within 6 weeks. Tyler tells the man that when Raymond wakes up the next day, he will learn to appreciate life more. Tyler had built bunk beds in their basement, which the man discovers one day. Tyler has also begun accepting applications for a covert boot camp that requires candidates to wait 3 days in front of the house without food or shelter. Applicants begin to pile up in front of the house, and Bob is one of them. Once inside, they are forced to perform manual labor while Tyler lectures them on the evils of consumerism. The man is perplexed as to why Tyler began recruiting for the army. He was shocked to later learn that the recruits had set fire to several apartments. The incident piques the interest of the city's police commissioner, who believes the crime is linked to underground fight clubs. When the man inquires as to why they would commit such an act, the recruits explain that it is part of Project Mayhem, but the rule states that no one is allowed to inquire. In the following stage of the project, the group members disguise themselves as waiters to infiltrate an official gathering at a hotel. When the commissioner goes to the restroom, the waiters follow him and assault him. Tyler threatens to castrate the police chief unless he calls off the investigation on the Fight Club. He further reveals that the men involved in the crime are the ones that depend on him to cook their meals, drive their cars, haul their trash, etc. The police chief agrees to stop the probe, and they all leave the hotel. The man begins to feel excluded from the club because of his lack of knowledge about their plans regarding Project Mayhem. He lashes out by beating one of the recruits to a pulp during a fight. On the way home after the fight, the man starts berating Tyler for not including him in Project Mayhem from the beginning. Tyler, who is driving the car, tells the man that the project belongs to the whole club, not just the two of them. Tyler drives on the wrong side of the road and lets go of the steering wheel as he scolds the man for refusing to forget about his past life and his individuality. The man tries to take the steering wheel, but Tyler tells him to let go and stop trying to control everything. When the man capitulates, they soon crash into another car. When they emerge from the vehicle, Tyler tells him that they just went through a near-life experience. The man searches for Tyler in their house the next day, but he's nowhere to be found. Despite Tyler's absence, the recruits are hard at work on their project. When the man attempts to inspect the plans, he is stopped by a recruit who assures him that everything is under control. Marla arrives at the house hoping to enter, but when the man informs her that Tyler is not present, she decides to leave. Recruits arrive at the house in a panic, claiming that someone was shot during an assignment. They were given the task of destroying a large art display outside a corporate building, as well as a franchise coffee shop. The mission was going swimmingly until the police officers arrived and opened fire, killing Bob. The man begins looking for Tyler in the hopes that he will put an end to the dangerous project, believing that the group has gone too far. The man travels to different cities using Tyler's used ticket stubs and visits the bars and other businesses where fight clubs were founded. He comes across the joint where he hears employees paying tribute to Bob after striking out at various establishments. Even though the man is unfamiliar with the establishment, the bartender welcomes him back. The man asks the bartender if he recognizes him, which makes the bartender wonder if he is being tested. After being assured that he is not being tested, the bartender introduces himself to the man as Tyler Durden. In his confusion, the man returns to his hotel room and calls Marla to inquire about their relationship. Marla confirms their relationship and refers to him as Tyler. Tyler enters the room after Marla hangs up, expressing his disbelief with the man for breaking his promise not to mention him to Marla. The man recalls some of the things he has done since they met after questioning Tyler about his situation. He eventually realizes that he and Tyler are the same person. Tyler explains that the man appeared because he was looking for ways to improve his life. When the man points out that Tyler has his own jobs, Tyler responds that the man has taken on additional jobs at night because he cannot sleep. Tyler later informs the man that Marla is a threat to their plans because she knows too much about them. While they are arguing about Tyler's dangerous plans, the man collapses from exhaustion. When he wakes up, he rushes out of his room to return home. When he arrives at the home, he discovers Project Mayhem's plans, which target several financial district buildings. He attempts to warn the management of each facility, but quickly discovers that they have all been infiltrated by the group. He grabs all of the documents he can carry and flees the house in desperation. He then approaches Marla and persuades her to flee the city for her own safety. After Marla boards a bus out of town, the man surrenders to police and tells them about Project Mayhem. Tyler reveals he intends to bomb key facilities in the business district to erase credit card debt records. The lead detective pays close attention to the details of the plans, but he quickly leaves the room to confirm some of the information. When the lead detective is gone, the three remaining officers in the room begin praising the man for Project Mayhem. They tell him, however, that they must castrate him because he ordered them to take the testicles of anyone who interferes with the group's plans, including himself. The lead detective knocks on the door and tells them to go to Tyler's house as the officers prepare to cut him. The man can steal an officer's gun and flee the police station. He rushes to one of the buildings on Tyler's list in search of the bomb. He discovers it in the parking garage and attempts to disarm it, believing that he would also know how because Tyler does. Tyler begins beating him up after he successfully deactivates the bomb. However, the surveillance camera monitors reveal that he is only fighting with himself. Tyler then throws the man down the stairs, knocking him out. When the man awakens, he is bound in a room with Tyler holding a gun to his mouth. Tyler is begged by the man to abandon his plan, but Tyler insists that the project must be completed to liberate people from consumerism. Because the buildings are empty, Tyler assures him no one will be killed by the explosions. The man quickly realizes that the gun is not in Tyler's hands, but in his own. He then informs Tyler that his eyes have been opened and places the gun in Tyler's mouth. When he pulls the trigger, the bullet exits to the side of his face near his ear. Tyler, who has a gaping wound on the back of his head, collapses and vanishes. Members of the club arrive shortly after, bringing Marla with them. The man instructs them to leave Marla with him and await his arrival downstairs. Marla begins berating the man for sending a gang after her, but she comes to a halt in shock when she notices the wound on his head. The bombs start exploding as soon as the man tells her that everything will be fine, sending the buildings around them into freefall. As more buildings fall, the man tells Marla that she met him at an odd point in his life. And that is all for this great movie. If you have not watched it and would love to, check out the links in the description and leave a comment below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Red Recaps and hit the notification bell to be notified of future videos. Thanks for watching Red Recaps, and see you in the next video.